This is Josh Belk with the Belk on Business podcast. We're going to go a little bit in a different way today. We're actually going Facebook Live as well as doing our traditional recording for the Belk on Business podcast. Just today, I probably had close to 50 text messages in regards to dealing with this whole COVID-19 coronavirus situation, and a lot of questions as it deals with the upcoming stimulus package. We don't have full clarity right now as far as what's going to happen. They did take a vote in the early hours this morning. I think President Trump right now is actually speaking and kind of talking a little bit about this, and hopefully by today, tomorrow, we'll have some clarity as far as exactly what we can expect and look for in regards to the stimulus package. What I want to do on the podcast today is kind of just talk a little bit, just give some practical direction, especially for business owners as it relates to what to do right now. How do we respond in a crisis situation? I really like to kind of take a spiritual, first of all, a spiritual approach to this. There's a passage in Scripture that tells us that we are not to operate in fear, but to operate with a sound mind. As leaders in our businesses right now, it's time that we have to step up and lead. I've already received within this last week, as states are beginning to shut down, people are already throwing in the towel. They're quitting. They're saying, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to try to even work through this, and they're throwing in the towel. And that really, bottom line, they're just quitting. That's just a lack of leadership. Or they kind of just essentially just go through and they overreact. They immediately start firing employees, and they're not even taking the time to sit down. They're just simply reacting, and they're not responding. And I think there's some inherent problems with that. Okay, it shows that bottom line, maybe we should have never been a business owner to begin with. Maybe we should have never even really truly decided to be a leader to begin with. So I think scripturally we're told that we're to operate with a sound mind. That means we are not to react. We are to take time to respond. And that response should be one of love, of self-discipline, and of boldness. And to really kind of to sit down and take an analysis of where are we at and what are we going to do. And most of the time when I'm working with clients, we're really kind of taking a long-term type of approach. And you're gonna today. Normally in my podcast, I'm not quite this direct, but I'm gonna kind of really hit hard a little bit today as we talk about this. Okay, but I think we kind of need to take a little bit of a step back, and hopefully all the planning that we've done when business was good, because really just within a couple weeks ago, everybody was operating in an abundance mindset. Business was easy. Well, guess what? Here it is, a couple weeks later. The beginning of March, business was relatively easy. Now, as we approach the end of the end of March, guess what? Business is hard. It's not easy right now. And regardless of the type of business, we have about half the U.S. workforce probably going to be not working. Okay, they're going to be at home. They're not going to be able to go into their workplace. Indiana, the state that I'm recording in, today is the first day of our stay-at-home time, and for some of my clients around the country, they've had to essentially they're not able to open their storefronts. Okay, unless they're an exempt an exempt business. And so guess what? Things are not easy. But hopefully you've taken the time to save. You've been prudent. But if you haven't been, okay, there's some things, and I think regardless of where you're at, that you really need to do like right away. Most of the time we work with clients, we're looking at annual goals or quarterly goals. We're trying to make decisions more for what are we going to do over the next longer period of time. So right now we need to take a step back and really begin to get granular in our business. Let me talk about that just a little bit. First of all, and I'm going to kind of approach this more from the financial aspect and then give a brief update as far as where we're at. I'm wanting to try to keep this under the 10-minute time frame. I don't think I'm going to do that. We may do that post-editing here. But first of all, take a look at your budget and your cash flow forecasts. Okay, so go through, take a look at your budget. Most of the time when you do a budget, when I did a podcast last year, a couple different times in regards to budgeting, and when you get to the end of the year, a lot of times we sit down, we take a look at the next year and saying, okay, here's what we need to do in the budget and over the budget, and we take a look at that more of an annual type of a snapshot or a picture. Right now, we may actually get to the point where we need to take a look at our cash flow and our budgeting weekly, maybe even daily. So we begin to boil that down to, okay, what do I need to operate my business today? What do I need to operate operate this business over the next week? Because you know what we're not dealing with, I don't think, And I think a lot of the economists that are kind of taking a look at this, they're telling us that, you know what, this may be a 2 to 3 month kind of painful process we're going to work through. I don't think we're talking about this long, drawn out recession. Okay, I think it's going to be a short-term issue we're going to have to deal with, and those who have the patience, the perseverance, and really just kind of the resolve to work through these next few months is because a lot of their competition is going to go by the wayside. They are going to throw the towel in. But if you have the resolve to work through this and do just take some very practical steps to work your way through this, you can really end up in a position where your business is going to be ahead of the game simply because you worked through a really difficult time in your business. But go through and what are those essential expenses you have in your business to keep the doors open? Go through, prioritize your cost. Take a look at your budget. What are things that you can do without? Okay, and what are some things that you don't need in your business right now? What is the minimum that you need to operate your business and get yourself to that point? And then operate within that zone for the period of time until things begin to turn around. Okay, so begin to go through every single line in your P&L. Run that year-to-date P&L. Take a look at it. What are items on here I can cut? What can I eliminate? Okay, and I'm not talking about necessarily employees. A lot of times as business owners, the first thing we want to do is, okay, well, I need to get rid of people. Okay, but is there a way within your business you can either maybe cut back hours, help to keep maybe more people employed? Okay, as you kind of work through this, even if that means tapping into your reserves, take care of your people during this time the best that you can, and just don't quit. Next, so taking a look at your budget and your cash flow projection. Next, communicate with everybody that's involved in your business. With your vendors, if you're struggling being able to pay the bills, you're looking at, say, I don't know how I'm going to make this over these next 30, 60, 90 days. Pick up the phone. Be a man. Be a woman. Step up, okay, and call your vendors and talk to them. And say, you know what, we're in a difficult time. I'm not sure what I'm going to do right now. What can we do? Can you buy me a little bit of time? Can I send you half of it now, maybe rest of it later? With your bankers, communicate with them. With your investors, communicate with them. Banks right now, some of them are willing to kind of just say, okay, just pay us interest only over the next 90 days. Or we'll suspend payments out here for the short period of time. And just communicate with them. Let them know what's going on in your business. Because if you fail, in a certain way they fail too. They want to see you succeed. So communicate with your vendors, communicate with your lenders, and communicate with your employees. I've spent quite a bit of time in my own business talking to my employees. We've lost clients. We all probably have. Everybody that's listening to this right now, you probably said, you know what, my business has been affected in a negative way over the last week or two. Mine has too. Just today, we lost a client. Okay, and it's impacting our business. Okay, but we made provisions in our business. I've been communicating with them. I told them last week, you know what? Probably within the next week, that Indiana is going to have a stay-at-home order, just like a number of other states have. We're going to have to deal with losing clients and to begin to communicate with them a plan of how we're going to work through this. I have some employees working remotely. I have a couple that are able to come into the office. We are an essential business, so I'm able to keep my doors open. My physical doors open, but what is this going to look like? If it gets to the point to where everybody has to work remotely, what does this look like? What does this look like from a financial end? I assured them that we do have some money in the bank that we can ride through this. And for those of you that you go through and you've done everything you can and you do have to eliminate employees, make sure you know where to send them to be able to collect unemployment. Indiana has been really good here. The Department of Workforce Development, our unemployment department here in the state's been really good at communicating with employers as far as where they need to go online to electronically file for unemployment benefits. I would encourage you, if you need to let people go before you have that conversation with them, get those resources in their hands. Make it available for them. This is where you need to go to file for unemployment benefits, and begin to help them. Okay, help them to know, okay, you know what, right now you're going to need to file for unemployment. My goal is in the next 60, 90 days to be able to bring you back on once we kind of work through this. But whatever that plan is, and hopefully you do have a plan, that you communicate that with your employees. So communicate with your vendors, communicate with your lenders, communicate with your employees. Next, because you know what, a lot of them are nervous. A lot of them are scared. And I think all of us, to a certain extent, whether we admit it or not, we're a little bit nervous right now. Okay, but we need to be responding with a sound mind. Lastly, just continue to follow any sort of ongoing bills. The stimulus package, like I said, right now, President Trump may be finished by now. I don't know, but I think he's speaking. We're waiting to see what happens. Right now, the only thing we do know is in regards to the IRS extensions. I do want to make a point on that. As far as the automatic extension till July 15th on the personal end, that does not eliminate penalties or interest for those who did not make proper estimated tax payments for last year. If you're in a position to where you did not pay enough in before the end of last year, I would encourage you to still get your tax return done by July 15th. By April 15th, and get that money in as quickly as possible. For those who did get enough in, it does buy you a little bit of time to be able to get the money in. So that has been extended to July 15th. The first and second quarter estimated tax payments now are due July 15th. So those normally that are due April 15th and June 15th, it's giving you a little bit of extra time for those of you that are self-employed or those of you who own businesses and you need to make estimated tax payments. So kind of keep that in mind. The other thing that we do know are those that have employees who've been directly affected, either that they've been sick, a family member's been sick, they have child care issues, health care issues, that currently the bill that has been passed, that there is a payroll tax credit out there for them and for you as a business owner, and that will appear on your quarterly 941 when you go through to file that. So make sure you're in communication with your accountant in regards to anyone that is within your business that has been directly affected and be able to take care of that payroll tax credit. Right now, we're waiting to hear, and hopefully within the next 24 to 48 hours, and I'll do my best to get another podcast out there as quickly as possible, another Facebook Live out there as quickly as possible for my clients and non-clients alike, as it relates to what exactly we're looking at and what does this mean. As probably 50 text messages today dealing with, number one, this $1,200 that is going to be coming to taxpayers. What does that look like? Right now, it looks like $150,000 for married couple to phase out up to $199,000, I believe, with the $1,200, and then some extra money for children. We'll wait to see where exactly that ends up falling, but that's what it looks like where we're at right now. The bigger question I've been getting is in regards to the loans. So what we do know right now is the loans that are going that basically are going to be backed by the federal government that they're kind of pushing out there are SBA. The SBA 7A loans. So I would encourage if you want to Google that and look at as far as what those rules are. Generally, those have a relatively quick turnaround, depending on the amount that you want. If it's over $25,000, right now, at least under the rules, there is some collateral that's required to be put up. There is some loan forgiveness provision in there. So there's a lot that's going into this, and I'll give an update. But for right now, if you're in a position to where I want to take advantage of these loans, get yourself familiar. Go to the SBA website. Get yourself familiar with the 7A loan process. Reach out to your banker. Have a lot of banks out there are SBA lenders. And then, of course, the SBA itself, through the federal government, backs a portion of those loans. So get yourself familiar with those rules if you're in a situation to where you're going to need to try to get some money into your business to try to cover payroll and utilities, rent, mortgage payments, whatever the case may be within your business in the short term. This is the Belk on Business podcast. This is Josh Belk. I encourage you to subscribe. Have a wonderful day.